everybody, how are you doing today? I hope you did great this week. And I did great this week. I got into our technique that we tried last week with the origami. And remember that we did cranes, and I got to fold a lot of them. And I want to show you, this is my crane family that I did this past week with a lot of different color papers and some that are a little lighter but very beautiful. And I thought that it would be great if this week we tried to string them. So what I did, I created this 5 origami crane strings, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Remember that if you are a member of the clubhouse, the Integrity House, you can contact a staff member and tell them that you would like to get paper and also the instructions. So we have a printout. And with that and the video, you can for sure make some of these beautiful origami paper cranes. And then you can eventually string them. And those that wanted to make a wish and fold 1,000 cranes, I hope that you get your wish granted. All right, I'm going to start and tell you what I did. Here I have the materials we need to do the stringing of the cranes. So first we're going to need, of course, our cranes folded. I'm going to do a string of 3 instead of 5 this time. Then I'm going to need a pair of scissors. Then I will need some beads. I decided to do transparent beads because that way it doesn't show too much. And I'm going to show you here the bead. You can see it here as well. And I'm going to need a needle. And the last thing is I'm going to need some kind of thread. So most people do it transparent and nylon, like the fishing one. But I wanted to do this one because it has a little sparkle. I don't know if you can see. It has like a rainbow colors, and it changed from yellow or golden to turquoise to pink and gold. And it's very pretty. The other reason that I wanted to do it in this is because you can see what I'm doing, and with the fishing one is hard. I wanted to make sure that you know that the way that this is done is that you put a bead. Can you see the bead in here? You put a bead with the thread, and then that is what is going to be like the stopper for the bottom of the crane. And that way you just do that with each single one of them. And at the top we do like a loop. We do a loop with a bead, and that's what is going to be able to be hang, or you can hang it from a nail, or you can hang it from some other thing. And that's what basically we need. First thing, I'm going to be threading my needle. Once that I do that, I'm going to grab one bead, and I'm going to make it go through the needle. And when that happens, I'm going to make sure that there's only one string through the bead, and I'm going to come back here and go again all over it. Can you see it? And that way it's kind of like held in there, so it's not moving back and forth. Although you can adjust it a little bit. Once that you have it, you're going to come again, do a second time, and you might want to do a knot or 2 or 3 to make sure that it's held in place. Also, you could come and take the needle away and do it by hand and do it easily, because it's a little hard sometimes with the needle. And you're going to do a couple of knots. This first one is going to be the one that holds the last or the bottom crane. So you see, I have this now, and I'm going to come and I'm going to cut, and this is going to secure the first or the bottom crane. And then you're going to choose what kind of length you want, and you have to choose it now because you have to keep adding a bead in each location where you want your crane. So choose a length. I'm not going to do such a long one this time, so I'm just going to grab a little amount or some amount that I think is good. And remember, you have to do a loop at the end, so just grab it now. And then now you are going to have on one end of your thread the bead, right? You see it here. And on the other, you're going to have just the thread. So I'm going to grab my needle now, and I'm going to thread it again. Once that I thread it again, I'm going to put my first crane. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here from the bottom. There is like a little hole already made. And then I'm going to come and do the center. You see where the lines cross, and I'm going to go through there, and I'm going to do this. And what is going to happen is that the bead is going to stop, and it's going to have my first crane. So now what I do next is when I put my second crane, I have to grab another bead. I'm going to thread it inside. And now I have to choose the distance that I want. So it's up to you what distance, but just remember that you want some amount to have the crane have a little breathing space. So for the other one, I measure like 10 fingers, I mean, and this time I think I'm going to make it closer. So maybe I'm going to just measure like 4, 5, 6, somewhere in here. And when I find my location, I'm just going to come and do back thread my bead again to make sure that it stays in that place. And I'm going to remember to do it twice. I'm going to go through the bead twice, and then the second time I'm going to thread it in a way that is going to make a knot. My needle released, but it's okay because all I have to make sure is that I have a knot so it will not be moving. You see, now I have this bead that is staying in there, and all I have to do now is to thread again because my needle got on thread. And then I'm going to do the second one. Here I'm going to do the second one, and that's the way that you're going to do each one of them. Make sure you get the center. I'm going to go here. So now we have 2, you can see, and it's the bead at the bottom that stops them. So I'm going to do the third one, and then I'm going to show you how to do the loop. Now I have the 3 cranes, and they all have the beads at the bottom. You see, 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to do the loop, and the loop was going to look something like this. So that way you can hang it from somewhere. And so you're going to have the needle. I have a little bit left over of thread, and you're going to grab 1 bead, and now you are threading it, and you have to choose where are you going to want to put the loop. So let's say I want it in here, maybe not too far from where the crane is, or you can do it further, but I'm going to make sure that I have this threaded. And now that it's in there, I have to make sure to go in again So you're going to go in it without the needle, because you really don't want to leave the needle in there, right? So I'm going to come in here, thread it again, and where we're going to end up is with something like this. It's going to be the two strings, the two thread strings here, and then the loop. Threading back and forth here. You know, I'm going to go back in. And that way I make sure it's secure. So now it's there. And then I'm going to do the knot. I hope you can see what I'm doing, because it's really, everything is a little too fine. But I'm making one knot. I'm going to go back in it again. And then I'm going to make another knot. Oops, my needle came out, but it's okay because I already did one knot, so it could work. So I do two. Oops. And here's my... Once that you do that, and you have it where you want it, then you can cut off this, and you will have the 3 cranes. Hey there, so here we have the cranes already hanging on a hook, and let's get closer and get to see how pretty they are. You can see how they move with the breeze, and you can see the sparkly thread that I chose, but remember, you can use a transparent one. And I hope that you enjoy the project, and remember that if you contact the Integrity House, the Clubhouse, and your staff, they will be able to give you some paper and some thread, and then you can do this project. Okay, bye. See you next week.